On screen, they were icons admired by millions. But behind the glamour, the lives of many Hollywood legends were filled with contradictions, pressure, and stories rarely known to the public. In today's video, we look back at 8 famous figures, from Marlon Brando and Judy Garland to Frank Sinatra and Joan Crawford, to explore the gap between their artistic brilliance and private lives. Which person do you think was the most complex? Share your thoughts in the comments, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Some actors are remembered not only for their iconic roles, but also for changing the way Hollywood approached acting. Marlon Brando was one of them. With his natural and deeply expressive style, he left a lasting mark through films such as The Godfather and A Streetcar Named Desire, inspiring generations of actors who followed.
As a matter of fact, my wire...
As a matter of fact, there wasn't no wire at all. There isn't no millionaire.
However, alongside the admiration for his talent were stories of an artist determined to protect his creative freedom, even when doing so made the filmmaking process more challenging.
Bloody bastard. You'll not put your foot on me again.
In many projects, Brando became known for his highly unconventional working methods. The original script notes that he sometimes refused to memorize all of his dialogue and instead used cue cards placed around the set to help keep his performance feeling more natural. During the production of Mutiny on the Bounty, his frequent changes in working style were also said to have contributed to delays and rising production costs. Later, despite delivering an Oscar-winning performance in The Godfather, Brando still had to overcome the studio's initial hesitation before being cast in the role. Some colleagues also recalled that his improvisational acting style could place considerable pressure on his co-stars, especially during scenes that demanded intense emotion. Away from the set, Brando's personal life was marked by its own turbulence. The source script refers to distance within his family, an unpredictable temperament, and tragedies that had a lasting impact on his children.
And you know that that is not what is necessary to... You control your fate. You're a highly controlled person. And
Really?
At the same time, many rumors surrounded Brando's name over the years, although not all of them were ever confirmed. Looking back on his entire journey, Marlon Brando is still regarded as one of the most influential artists in 20th century cinema. His story shows that extraordinary talent and private life can sometimes follow 2 very different paths, and it is precisely this complexity that has kept Marlon Brando's name alive in public discussion to this day. Not every Hollywood icon was shaped under fair conditions. For Judy Garland, the spotlight came at an early age, but so did pressures that followed her for nearly her entire life. Audiences remember Garland for her deeply emotional voice and her portrayal of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, a role that became an enduring symbol of American cinema. Yet behind that success was a journey heavily influenced by the way the studio system operated at the time.
Actually, I have learned to cook during the night. Yes.
Well, that's very productive.
According to the source script, Garland began working under an extremely demanding schedule while she was still a teenager. Within the studio's highly controlled production system, she was reportedly given medication to help her keep up with the relentless filming schedule. Over time, this contributed to lasting difficulties affecting both her health and personal life. As an adult, Garland repeatedly struggled with mental health challenges, anxiety, and dependence on medication. Periods of poor health also directly affected Garland's work, causing some projects to be interrupted or forcing production plans to change. Even so, Judy Garland's story cannot be defined solely by hardship. The source script also emphasizes that her children, especially Liza Minnelli, remembered their mother as a deeply loving person who always tried to protect her family as best she could. Rather than viewing Garland's life only through its hardships, many people today see her as a powerful example of the pressure young performers were forced to endure during Hollywood's golden age. Judy Garland's legacy, therefore, extends beyond her classic songs and films. Her story has also helped inspire broader conversations about mental health, artists' rights, and the changes needed within the entertainment industry. What made Peter Sellers stand out was not only his ability to transform into a wide range of characters, but also the distinctive quality he brought to every role. From the Pink Panther films to Dr. Strangelove, he is regarded as one of the finest comedic actors in British cinema. However, behind that witty screen persona was a personal life that many accounts have described as deeply complicated. According to the source script, Sellers went through periods of emotional instability and often struggled with a persistent sense of insecurity in his private life.
There is every kind of restaurant. Butter and the Indian one, there is not one, but there's every other kind. And you can do...
Some relatives and colleagues recalled that he tended to live a private and withdrawn life, maintained strict security measures, and sometimes found it difficult to separate himself from his characters after filming ended. On-set shifts in his mood or sudden departures from projects were said to have affected the progress of several films. In his family life, his marriage to his fourth wife, Britt Ekland, was also described as deeply challenging, while his children later spoke about the emotional distance in their relationship with their father. After Peter Sellers died in 1980, the distribution of his estate continued to cause disputes within the family. Looking back on his career, Sellers is still regarded as a remarkably creative artist who helped reshape modern comedy. His story also reminds us that behind the laughter seen on screen, there may be personal struggles that audiences rarely get to see. Every generation may view Sellers' legacy differently, but his talent continues to hold a special place in film history. Which of these three stories made you reflect the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoy historical perspectives on cinema built from reliable sources, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our upcoming videos. Charlie Chaplin's bowler hat, small mustache, and distinctive walk became some of the most recognizable images in film history. Through his character, the Tramp, he brought audiences laughter while also portraying loneliness, poverty, and compassion in a deeply relatable way. Chaplin's artistic achievements had a lasting influence, yet his private life also sparked debates that continued across generations. According to the source script, Chaplin married Mildred Harris and Lita Gray when both women were still very young. Lita Gray later described their marriage as a period marked by emotional pressure, controlling behavior, and distance in their personal lives. Chaplin's final marriage to Una O'Neill began when she was 18 and he was 54. Although they remained together until his death, and Una later shared positive memories of their family life, the age differences in Chaplin's relationships continue to be discussed in modern assessments of his life.
Up on the highway.
Both Harry and I, but he wanted to see the picture.
On set, Chaplin was known for pursuing an exceptionally high level of precision. He could require actors to repeat a scene many times in order to achieve the result he wanted. This working method helped produce films widely praised for their artistic quality, but it also left some collaborators feeling exhausted and under considerable pressure. The source script also refers to emotional distance within his family, particularly through the recollections of his son Charlie Chaplin Jr.
If anybody else says it's like old times, I'll jump out the window.
Oh, boy.
Now the stage manager.
Me, Boston.
Today, Charlie Chaplin is still recognized as one of the most important artists in world cinema. However, looking back on his life also shows that audiences can appreciate the value of an artist's work while seriously examining the more complicated aspects of the person who created it. For decades, Bing Crosby's voice was closely associated with the holiday season family radio programs and the image of mid-20th century America. His recording of White Christmas made him a familiar presence in the memories of generations of listeners.
Kids quite a bit. She has a little classroom in the house where she augments their things she wants them to learn, and she's a registered nurse. She did...
In public, Crosby often appeared calm, natural, and approachable. However, accounts published after his death revealed a different perspective on the life behind that carefully maintained image.
Went to Honolulu, heard this song, brought it back, put it in a movie, and to my great surprise, it never happened to me. Sweet Leilani.
Oh, I remember that, Sweet Little Lonnie.
Please, Sweet.
In 1983, Gary Crosby, his eldest son, published a memoir describing a childhood marked by intense pressure. According to the account presented in the source script, Gary said that his father imposed extremely strict discipline on the 4 sons from his first marriage to Dixie Lee. He described physical punishment, demanding expectations, and a persistent feeling that earning his father's approval was difficult. These claims significantly influenced how the public viewed Crosby's role within his family.
I'm stuck with Bede. I feel like a character out of Charlie.
Wait a minute, hold on. For my idea, we need 3 pianos and 3 piano players.
Oh, we got them.
However, the memories of Crosby's family members were not entirely the same. His children from his second marriage described him as a strict father, but also as someone who was affectionate and deeply concerned about his family. These differing accounts suggest that the private life of a famous person cannot always be understood from a single point of view. The Crosby family later experienced further loss. 2 of his sons, Lindsay and Dennis, died by suicide as adults after years of struggling with personal and financial difficulties, as well as substance use. These tragedies should not be attributed to a single cause, but they remain a deeply painful part of the family's history. Bing Crosby's legacy, therefore, carries many layers of meaning. He is still remembered as one of the most influential voices of his era, yet his family story also reminds viewers that a warm public image does not always fully reflect the relationships that exist in private life. Frank Sinatra was known for more than just his unmistakable voice. He also created the image of a confident, sophisticated performer whose influence extended across American music, film, and popular culture. At the height of his career, Sinatra could command an audience from the moment he stepped onto the stage. Yet that same forceful personality sometimes became a source of conflict in his private life. The source script refers to several occasions when Sinatra reacted angrily during confrontations with journalists, photographers, and people working in the entertainment industry. He was described as someone with demanding standards who did not easily accept disagreement and could argue intensely with directors or colleagues when he felt the work failed to meet his expectations. These traits helped him protect his artistic control, but they also contributed to his reputation as an unpredictable performer. Sinatra's connections to several figures associated with organized crime, including Sam Giancana, were frequently discussed in the press and in public records. However, it is important to distinguish documented associations from claims that were never verified. Some rumors allege that Sinatra used these connections to intimidate or influence others, but the source script also notes that many of the more sensational details were never supported by clear evidence. Sinatra's marriage to Ava Gardner also attracted intense media attention. Their relationship was described as passionate but filled with conflict, including periods of jealousy arguments and emotional exhaustion. Sinatra's children, including Tina Sinatra, later spoke about their father's mood swings and moments of anger, while also acknowledging his loyalty and generosity toward those he loved. Frank Sinatra left behind an extraordinary artistic legacy, but his story was never defined by just one side. It was a combination of talent, ambition, loyalty, and a personality that sometimes sparked considerable debate. How should the public evaluate an artist when their professional achievements and personal life reveal very different sides of the same person? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoy film stories told with balance and respect for reliable sources, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to join us for our upcoming videos. For many years, Bill Cosby was regarded as one of the most familiar faces on American television. Through his role as Dr. Cliff Huxtable on The Cosby Show, he created the image of a calm, humorous father who always placed family at the center of his life. His work in comedy television and advertising helped make Cosby a trusted figure among generations of viewers. That is why when serious allegations began to emerge publicly, the contrast between his on-screen image and the reports about his private conduct drew intense public attention.
I don't want to compromise your integrity. I don't talk about it.
According to the source script, more than 60 women came forward with accounts involving alleged abuse spanning several decades. Some said that Cosby approached them in professional settings and offered career support or guidance before engaging in conduct to which they had not consented. These are serious allegations, so any discussion of them should clearly distinguish between the accounts provided by those involved in the legal proceedings and the final outcomes of those cases. In 2018, Cosby was convicted in a criminal case. In 2021, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned the conviction after determining that the prosecution had violated a previous legal commitment. This decision did not mean that the court had reassessed all of the publicly reported allegations. Instead, it focused on procedural issues and the defendant's legal rights. This is an important detail that must be expressed accurately to prevent viewers from misunderstanding the nature of the ruling.
Very excited.
But don't die right now here, please.
What do you mean, don't die?
Bill Cosby's story profoundly changed the way the public viewed a figure who had once represented warmth and family values on television. His contributions to entertainment remain part of American cultural history, but they are now considered alongside the allegations investigations and broader debates about power accountability and the voices of those who came forward. Joan Crawford entered Hollywood history as a strong-willed star, known for her distinctive style and her ability to sustain a successful career through several major transitions in the film industry. From the silent era to her later dramatic roles, she became one of the most recognizable icons of Hollywood's golden age. However, many years after the spotlight had faded, accounts from within her family created a very different perspective on her private life.
Let me see that.
It can't be. The last time I saw you, you were...
In 1978, Christina Crawford, Joan Crawford's adopted daughter, published the memoir Mommy Dearest. In the book, Christina described a childhood marked by intense pressure, strict discipline, controlling behavior, and actions she believed caused both physical and emotional harm. Christopher Crawford, another of Joan's adopted children, was also mentioned in accounts of the family's complicated home environment. These claims had a major influence on how Joan Crawford came to be viewed in popular culture. However, when presenting this material, it is important to make clear that much of the information comes from memoirs and personal accounts. Some people who worked with or knew Joan Crawford defended their memories of her.
I look for...
This is good practical information for me.
Very did play Cinderella
for contrast.
For contrast. And there's a very interesting...
And argued that the image presented in the book did not fully reflect who she was as a person. For that reason, the script should not turn one perspective into an absolute conclusion. Instead, it should help viewers understand that family memories can differ and may sometimes be difficult to verify independently. The source script also notes that Joan Crawford did not leave an inheritance to Christina or Christopher. In her will, Crawford stated that the decision was made for reasons known to the two children, but she did not provide further details. This only added to the debate surrounding her relationship with Christina and Christopher. Joan Crawford's legacy, therefore, exists between two contrasting images: a determined and highly influential film artist, and a mother described in very different ways through later personal accounts. Looking back at her story does not require dismissing her artistic achievements or ignoring the allegations within the family. What matters is clearly distinguishing documented facts, memoirs, and personal perspectives so that viewers can approach the story in a more balanced way. These 8 stories show that an artist can leave behind extraordinary work even when their life does not always match the polished image seen on screen. Talent, ambition, pressure, personal choices, and complicated relationships all helped shape legacies filled with contrasting perspectives. Which story made you reflect the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the journeys still to come.